Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're getting stuck back into the supercharger side of things for Smokey. We've got all of the belts, the pulleys to do today, and we've also got all of the plumbing and the radiator for the intercooler setup that's going to cool down that air coming through the supercharger. So a lot to get done. Let's get stuck into it. Now, of course, as with any good supercharger kit, you're only going to be able to make as much boost as you can spin the pulley. So to combat that, we've got this kit from PowerBond down here. This is an 8PK kit, so a bit of a wider belt to give us a bit more grip. We've got balancer, couple of idler pulleys, alternator, and power steering pump, and then an extra idler pulley from Harrop just for the supercharger. So hoping that that is going to stop any belt slippage or spitting issues with the car, and we'll get in front of the curve before those issues happen. So I might look a bit silly, but I know how tight that bolt is. It's like 300 and something Newton meters, and I can't find a double point socket to fit that that's actually rated for impact guns. So super cheap, Tool Pro. Let's hope this works out. Not sketchy at all. Now obviously we're going to be spinning a supercharger on this thing, which is quite a bit of drag that wasn't previously there on all the accessories, in particular the harmonic balancer. So one of the things that these LSs have is no keyway and no locating for the balancer. And what that does mean, even though you've got a super tight big bolt holding it on there, it can actually spin with the drag of the supercharger. So we're going to fix that by using this kit that's going to pin the crank and the harmonic balancer together. Basically, we bolt this spacer on, we use the drill bit there to drill out some holes that are perfectly in between the crank and this pulley, and then we put the dowels in there so they're stuck in place and can't actually spin when they're under load. So we've seen some dynos where they actually are spinning and you lose a lot of power, and obviously it's not very good for the end of the crank. So this kit should alleviate that and mean that we're making full boost all the time. Well, this is an odd level of satisfying. We've finally got the belts on there to spin the supercharger. This is the second power steering pulley we had to get. The first one was faulty, had to get delivered another one, and then we went through 3 belts to find the perfect one that was pretty much keeping everything as tight as it could possibly be. It's the old Goldilocks thing. One was too short, one was too long, one was just right. So we've got this on here now. And I think that is going to do a good job of gripping onto that supercharger and supplying us with boost. So here's the parts for my own water to air setup. We've got this heat exchanger here from an LSA powered Camaro. Standard GM parts, so good parts availability. Got a Bosch pump with a Raceworks bracket, a Magnuson coolant reservoir, and these laser cut pieces that are going to hang off the end of those chassis rails and hold the heat exchanger in place. Well, test fitting the front end has revealed that we pretty much have to gut the entire center section of this radiator support. What we've noticed is it actually hits the heat exchanger. So we've started gutting the center part, and we're going to move all the support between the headlights forward. It's also going to make a good spot to mount the oil cooler down there. So that is in progress at the moment. Dad's got a bit there that he's going to start welding in. So Dad's been busy while I've been away at work. He's created this beautiful bracket here to hold the reservoir and the water pump for the intercooler. And he's done it out of the old Astra Power steering pump bracket. We used to run the Astra Power steering pump in the car when we first built it. Ended up getting rid of it, and we just had a void there. But this is the perfect spot for the reservoir and the pump to go. So I'll show you in a second the car. So here it is in the car. It's tucked out the way in a spot that we weren't using before, just behind the strut tower. And I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. It's nice and neat. It's taking space up that we weren't using before. It's all wired in now too, so it's controlled by the Link ECU. Well, 4,000 hose clamps later, and we have a plumbed up intercooler. I don't love having so many joins and hose clamps. Maybe I'll come back a little bit later and fix that up. Maybe not, but we'll see. But at the moment, perfection is the enemy of getting things done, and we now have it done. Got a nice bracket over here on the side of the strut tower to keep those hoses as far away from the header as we possibly can. I actually got the pump running at the moment. It's nice and quiet. You can see the water swirling around in there. It's actually quite tranquil, to be honest. It's kind of like a garden water feature. So next time this thing gives me the shits, I'm going to open that cap, run the intercooler, and just listen to the nice babbling of that tiny little engine-related brook. Anyway, though, probably got some other shit I should get onto. Well, at this point, we need to put on a throttle body, and it's something that we need to think about fairly deeply. We've got no throttle body at the moment. The LS1 throttle body straight up doesn't fit. It's built on the Harrop here for an LS2 and newer. So a couple of options. We could go drive-by-wire, could wire it all up to a pedal, wire up the throttle body to the link, and we could have a drive-by-wire, which would work perfectly fine, possibly even better. There's a big problem there. Those throttle bodies are god ugly. They have this huge electrical motor hanging off the side, and guess where the throttle body is going to be going? Out of the bloody bonnet. So I don't want that because it's going to look hideous. Call me crazy, but we're going to put function second at the moment, and we're going to go with form at the top. And we're going to run a cable because cable's nice and neat, and you're not even going to notice that it's there. So what we've gone and done is we have bought the most expensive throttle body that I could find, pretty much, and that is this Motion Raceworks Icon 102mm throttle body. Couple of key features is you can unbolt this front section and go with a V-band or something in the future if you wanted. The actual idle control is pretty streamlined, which is what we want. We got rid of this god ugly port and pipe that most of the throttle bodies have, and we can cap that off. And I think it's going to be pretty sleek and look pretty good hanging out the bonnet, as good as a throttle body can be hanging out the bonnet. So we do need a spacer because this thing doesn't bolt straight onto the Harrop. The Harrop is set up for a 92 and this is 102, so gonna need a spacer, but overall I'm pretty excited to get that on there. Well, obviously, if we're going to be punching out a bunch more power from this thing, we're also going to need a bunch more fuel. We've been on E85 for a few years now, and that ups the amount of fuel that you're going to need considerably. So previously, when we were NA, we were running 440cc injectors, but now, with the supercharger, we're going to have to run these. So these are 8 Bosch injectors. They're 980cc, so plenty of headroom for the future, in case we want to up that boost a little later on. They got the standard connector type, which is a godsend because these are the only ones I could find in this size that had the standard pin and connector configuration, because God knows I did not want to have to change 8 of those connectors over. But thankfully we got these, and they're going to go straight into that Harrop rail, onto the supercharger, and away we go. So, air intakes. The old one used to sit down here right by the headers, which was always exactly where you want your cold air intake to be. So, done something a little bit different now. We've designed up this in CAD, and you can see here the aluminium, that's just laser cut aluminium. You can see the little slots, all designed in CAD. We did a little bit of manual fabrication in putting the air exit from the airbox on there. And then the front piece here is actually all 3D printed. So it's like a 3D printed nylon infused with glass. Either way, it's pretty bloody heat resistant for a type of plastic. I think it's 180 degrees. And it's pretty strong too. So that is holding the air filter in, which is from it's a K&N filter from a Trackhawk, like a supercharged Jeep thing. So hopefully that'll follow enough air. But yeah, all this designed up, it's going to go over the radiator and in that slot there. So, car's fired up and ready for the dyno. So, yeah, all has gone pretty well. There was a fair bit of mucking around to make all this work. There's a lot of stuff all in one area. But I'm pretty happy with the results. The car's going to head off to Oz Dyno now, and they're going to put a tune in it. I've got probably about a month up my sleeve, because there's nothing I hate more than doing a tune the week of the event. It just doesn't leave you much time. So yeah, this is going to head off to those guys. Going to do a tune, aiming for 400 to 450 kilowatts. I think that should be a pretty safe amount, and that's what the blower pulley's set up for. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this airbox, to be honest. The only thing I'm not sure about is now we've got the airbox there in front of the radiator. We've also got the water to air heat exchanger. Don't know how we're going to go on the cooling side of things. This car was always really good with cooling. Other people would be pulling in doing slow laps. I wouldn't, I'd just be out there hot lapping. So I'm hoping now this will not hurt that too much. But I also know at the same point in time, with the amount of power this thing's making, and I mostly do comps, I'm not going to be doing more than like 4, maybe 5 laps on a set of tires anyway. So it should have plenty of chances to cool down, but I'm not an engineer, I just eyeballed it, so we'll see how it goes. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Hopefully we get either some dyno numbers or at least a track day to test it. So these are 8 Bosch 980. So these are 8. So I got 8